All right, welcome back to Mike's Gun World. I had kind of an interesting video today. I'm starting to get into cowboy action shooting. I'm getting prepared for it. We're in mid-December right now, and I'm hoping to be able to be ready to actually participate come springtime. There is a cowboy action range and club only about 20 minutes from where we moved in northern Wisconsin, and they have 2 matches a month. So it's a good opportunity to get involved. I had never been involved. My father-in-law had done it for years, and unfortunately, he's got some physical ailments that don't allow him to really participate anymore, so he had to get out of it. So I was a recipient of being gifted his firearms that he was using. And as I was preparing, this wasn't the shotgun he used, this Stoeger side-by-side with the 2 triggers, but it was in his collection. It would be perfect for cowboy shooting. It had an action job done on it. The safety bar was taken out of it. Running pretty good. I had it out on the range and I was testing it, and I noticed I was using his reloads, and he uses very, very light reloads. There's not a lot of recoil in them. But I noticed every once in a while, when you went to pull the second trigger, nothing would happen. And I was trying to diagnose the problem. I was talking to him about it, and he said, well, you know, I had the action job done on it, and then, you know, just to get the shells out a little bit easier when you're in competition, he actually had the chambers honed out. Now, I don't know if this is what caused the problem I'm about to talk about, but it's a pretty worrisome problem. When I put in factory loads, so I wanted to test factory loads against his kind of light reloads. The first time I pulled, we are empty by the way, so I can point in a safe direction and pull the trigger. The first time that I pulled the trigger, obviously there's a much bigger kick with a factory load, but I noticed that immediately the second trigger was dead. It wasn't pulling. So I really, you know, I was scratching my head. It would happen every single time on a factory load, and it would happen occasionally on his reloads. And I started thinking, well, maybe one of his reloads was a little bit heavier and it was causing the problem, but I still didn't know what it was. So I took my other camera, my tripod, outside the shop here, and I put some factory birdshot in here. And I put it into 4X mode to slow it down a little bit to see if I could catch what was happening. And I will show that video so you can see what I'm talking about. But in a factory load, when I pulled the trigger the first time, it actually blew the breech open just slightly, just like that, just a hair. And then, you know, obviously the second trigger was dead. Now, I'm not sure why. I'm kind of guessing here. You know, if we have any gunsmiths out there or people familiar with this, you know, honing out a chamber, I don't think it was a real good idea. You really increase the tolerances in here. So I don't know if there's blowback in there that's blowing the breech open. But every single time with a factory load, you pull the trigger and that breech is blown open. And that's a very dangerous situation because you're out of battery. If the other hammer or the other firing pin is dropping and happens to hit a primer and it goes off like this, you could have a really serious issue on your hand. So I kind of deem the firearm is unusable and dangerous, and we're not going to really be firing it anymore unless maybe you just fire just a single shot out of it. But in terms of, you know, shooting double shot side by side, you know, unless, again, leave comments down below if you have some thoughts on maybe how to fix it, but I really had none. And just watching it blow open, I said, it's not worth it. So, you know, it's hard to find parts for these. You buy them these days. Shields, they want $4.59 for them. So, you know, to find parts or find a barrel or a replacement or something, it'd be really hard. So I just decided to go out and buy, a brand new one. Now you can see the old one, which with the action job opens nice and easy. The safety bar is out, so it's always going to fire. On the new one, it's extremely hard to break open and cock, and then every time you do it, the safety automatically goes on, so if you forget to push the safety up, you can't fire. So it's going to need an action job and the safety bar removed. And that is the video that I want to cut today. So I will show real quickly this breech blowing open and why I've kind of deemed this dangerous. And then what I'm going to do to really lighten this up. And basically, what I believe I want to do is get into here and just do some polishing in here. I find, some flits in your Dremel and a polishing bit, and just polish everything up a little bit in here. The ejector's really tight. It's taken a lot to pull this ejector out. This should be moving like butter. So we're going to take the set screw out of here, and we're going to do some polishing on the ejector and make this run a lot smoother. And then I've already taken the butt plate off and the bolt out of here. And what's odd is instead of a screw, they have a hex bolt in there, and I think it was a 7/16 or something. I had to take it out. I had to get into my mechanic's toolbox and get out a long extension on my ratchet to get that bolt out. But the gun is so brand new and so tight, you can't even, it takes a lot to just even get the stock off. So the other thing that I want to do, right here, there's a safety bar, and you can see it move back and forth. So there's a pin that holds this safety bar in. We're going to pop that pin out, and we're going to take the safety bar out, and then I'll throw it in a baggie, and I'll throw it in the parts bin for future use. And then, or if I ever want to put it back in, which I doubt it. And then this spring right here, it's got a lot of extra coils on it. We're going to take a Dremel and we're going to cut off 1 or 2 coils and test it. And we're going to try to loosen this up a little bit. So we want to do some polishing. We want to do some polishing in here. We're going to cut this spring down and loosen this up. And then we're going to take that safety bar out. So let's get to it. Okay, so here's a sequence. I've got 2 sequences. This is the first one. You can see the breech get blown open. I don't realize it, and I'm kind of holding it together. I'm holding it very tight. I pull a second trigger, and it really blows open on me. That's when I realized, whoa, wait a minute. We're kind of dangerous here. So if we get into sequence 2, that's coming up. Right here, you can clearly see that get blown open, and then I really realize there's a problem. I close it, it's closed, and then the second trigger fires. So again, those are the sequences. If anybody has any thoughts, I certainly would like to hear them, but it was definitely opening up, and it was a situation both times where I was able to get it either closed or very close to close, and that second trigger would actually fire the second round. I think in the second sequence you can clearly see it blow much farther open, and then it recocked that second trigger. So that's a problem. That gun gets retired. I don't know, maybe it's a wall hanger or something. But let's get on to working. Let's get on to working on this other brand new Stoeger, and see if we can get it working a little bit more smoothly. Let me adjust something here real quick. so we can see a little bit better. And the first thing I really want to do is I want to get the safety out. So again, there's a pin right here. All we got to do is knock that pin out. We'll be able to take the bar out. It's not hard. I don't know what I'm using. 1/16 inch punch. Should be able to tap that pin. Yep, that pin goes right out. There it is, no problem. Now we got to start working this bar down. Trying to slide it down. There's a, if you look in here, there's a notch. There's a notch where the bar hits the actual safety on top of the frame. So we want to slide that out. It takes a little work to just wiggle it out. You can see it's dropping down. Not quite unseated yet. Keep pushing it down. There it goes. And then hook the bar. Use your punch to where the pin goes through and hook the bar. Should be able to slide it forward. Nope. There it is. It's starting to come out. It's actually fairly easy. I'm going to give it a tap. There. It dropped right out. So there is your safety bar and pin. And like I said, I'll put it in the baggie and label it and put it in the parts bin. And I don't know if I ever think I need the safety bar put back in, I'll have the parts. Or if anybody's ever looking for a safety bar, I'll have the parts. But right now, there is no safety on the firearm. So that is really what you want for cowboy action shooting, because you don't want to get up on stage and go to pull the trigger and forget that the safety's on. So that's done. So now I need to get out the Dremel, and I need to get out some polishing bits and the flits, and we'll get the polishing the parts and pieces I want to do. So that's that. Before I actually get the Dremel and the flits and the polishing bits out, I do want to take out the extractor. So there's a screw right here. Take that screw out. And man, it's tiny. I've got to get my trays out for this, and then the extractor should slide right out. So it's, I mean, you could see it catching. It's just it's dragging. It's probably got some burrs on it. Just a little bit of polishing with the flits, and we should be good to go. So, all right. Now I'm actually going to go get the Dremel and the flits. All right, I'm not going to bore you with all the details of polishing, but I do want to show you at least what I'm going to do with the extractor. And I'm going to wipe the grease. I don't think I need to degrease this. Maybe I do, but I'm going to try to get away with not degreasing it. I'm just going to wipe it down. I'll typically put a little bit of flits on my polishing bit, rub a little bit on the part that I want to polish up, and it's definitely got some burrs on it, and the flits should actually take care of it. The black you're seeing is probably the grease. Honestly, I was too lazy to degrease it. I just wiped it down. I didn't feel like it needed to be degreased. Maybe it does. We'll see. We'll see what this first round does. A little bit more flits on there. It's usually about that simple. It really doesn't take much. Just to break off some of those burrs, get it a little bit smoother, Wipe it down a little bit. Yeah, it feels a little bit better. Out of curiosity, see if it's still. Hold on. See if it's still snagging up in there. And yeah, it's definitely moving a little bit better. It's still got a little bit of snag to it. Let's get. I like to use Lubriplate as my grease. So let's get some Lubriplate out. And let me just use my finger to get some on there. Let's see if that works. See if we just get a little bit smoother. Yeah, it's vastly improved from what it was. It is actually moving much better. Yeah, it's almost not hanging at all at this point. I'm actually fairly happy with that. I could probably, probably off camera do a little bit more flits on there, take it down, get some 4/0 steel wool on it, and see if we can get it just a little bit better. It's hanging just a touch, but it's way better than how it came from the factory. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back once it's really 100% there and just slip it in and out, no problem. So we'll be back shortly. All right, so it took a little bit more than I thought. I was using some 4/0 steel wool, trying to get some of the burrs off, and they weren't coming off. And then I went to some 2000 grit sandpaper, and now it's greased up, and it is sliding in and out like butter. So we've got that extractor kind of polished up and running. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to polishing the rest of the barrel here, and then I'm going to get into the frame right here, and I'm going to polish some of this up right here and see if we can just get it to go back together a little bit more smoothly and open a little bit more smoothly before we actually get into cutting down the spring and taking some of the tension off of it and really making it a nice smooth running side-by-side coach gun. So I'm not going to bore you with all the details. You don't need to watch me polish it. I'm going to go ahead and do it, and I'll show you the end result. Okay, so I am done polishing everything. The front of the frame right here is polished. I've got some Lubriplate on there. Polishing all of these parts here under the barrel that lock everything in place. I did get the spring out, and I used just my Dremel and a cutoff wheel, and I cut off 2 full coils, so now the latch brake is really, really nice and smooth. We've got the safety bar out. I ended up using a combination of my Dremel with flits, some 4/0 steel wool, and then on a lot of the parts I had to go to 2000 grit sandpaper, including here on the front of the frame. A quick test showed me that it was a much smoother functioning gun than it was before we started. I wish there was a way to actually measure it in terms of, pounds or whatever, like you can measure a trigger pull. But regardless of that, I'm going to put it back together. I'm going to show you the finished product and show you how easy it's opening and closing now. And I think it is getting pretty darn close to ready for some cowboy action shooting. Let's get it put back together. All right, so here we are, 100% back together. Got everything we wanted to accomplish today. It took us, about 2 hours. All the parts and pieces polished, extractors polished, the frame's all polished. All of the studs in here that lock it down are polished. We got the safety bar out, and we got 2 coils cut out of the latch spring. The latch spring is nice and easy. This gun is breaking very easy. The extractors, it's like butter coming in and out now. Should be very easy to extract shells if you're in a match. In terms of the gun breaking down, I could barely get the stock off before. Pops right off. And really even getting the barrel out, it should be that easy, and it is that easy now. So not a real big job. Even putting the barrel back on is simple. Putting the forestock back in place is almost like butter, and that's the way it should be. Stoeger, side by side, double trigger, Coach gun. Hey, you know we're a newer channel. If you're liking what you're seeing, if it's helpful in any way, please hit like and subscribe. Please leave some comments down below. I know it's a longer video. I don't always like to cut them that long, but there's a little bit to talk about in there, especially with the malfunctioning, the older Stoeger Coach gun. And if you have any thoughts about it, why that breech is won't open, I would love to hear about it, because honestly, I can't figure it out other than those chambers being honed out a little bit too far. That's really my only thought at this point. But hope you're enjoying the videos, and we will talk to you soon.